Unfortunately, there is no doubt as to the reverse side of this golden coin. The evidence of the debauchery of James V is unanimous. "Most vicious we shall call him," wrote Knox with relish, relating how he spared neither man's wife nor maiden, no more after his marriage than he did before. James inherited a kingdom bankrupted by his mother, Margaret Tudor, and her second husband, the Earl of Angus. Unfortunately, his various efforts to search about him for new sources of income brought further troubles in their train. Even his prolonged search for a wealthy foreign bride set his feet firmly on the path of a foreign policy which proved in the final analysis to be disastrous. In view of the predatory attitude of his uncle Henry VIII towards Scotland, James determined upon the traditional Scottish alliance with the French king, in order to bolster himself with French aid against any possible English claims of suzerainty. Rightly or wrongly, James viewed Henry's offer to his daughter Mary Tudor as a bride as a further effort on the part of his uncle to envelop Scotland in his bear hug. At one point, James even dangled after the young Catherine de Medicis, niece of the Pope, lured by the thought of her magnificent inheritance. The results of such a union between Mary Stuart's father and the woman who was later to be her mother-in-law provide an interesting avenue of historical speculation. In fact, the match was doubly vetoed by the Pope's reluctance to see his niece set off for the far land of Scotland, and by Henry VIII's anger at the idea of such a powerful match for his nephew. James's mother had been the elder of the two daughters of Henry VII. Later, this share of Tudor blood was to play a vital part in shaping the life story of James's daughter Mary. The deaths of 2 out of the 3 surviving children of Henry VIII meant that by the time Mary was 16, she was next in line to the English throne, after her cousin Queen Elizabeth. But in the 1530s, at the time of James V's marriage projects, these coming events had not yet cast their shadow. It was Henry VIII, in the fullness of his manhood, and with 2 children to his credit already branching out the Tudor family tree, who seemed blessed with heirs. His nephew James, on the other hand, singularly lacked them. The position of the Stuart monarchs in the 15th and 16th centuries was peculiarly perilous in dynastic terms, for a number of reasons. In the first place, chance had resulted in a total of 7 royal minorities. There had been no adult succession since the 14th century, which had an inevitable effect of weakening the power of the crown and increasing that of the nobility. Secondly, the Stuarts had a special reason for needing to separate themselves from the nobility and raise themselves above it into a cohesive royal family by the nature of their origins. These were neither obscure nor royal. On the contrary, the Stuarts were no more than primus inter pares among the body of the Scottish nobles. They had formerly been stewards, as their name denotes, first of all to the ruling family of Brittany, and later more splendidly, great stewards to the kings of Scotland. It was Walter, 6th great steward, who by marrying Marjorie Bruce, daughter of Robert I, fathered Robert II, king of the Scots, and thus founded the Stuart royal line. The ramifications and interconnections of the Stuart family were henceforward focused on the throne. The many intermarriages, common to all Scottish noble families of this period, meant that by the 1540s there were descended from younger sons or daughters of the kings a number of rival Stuart families. The Lennox Stuarts, who later came to use the French spelling of Stuart, and thus handed it officially onto the royal line through the marriage of Mary to Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley. The Athol Stuarts, the Stuarts of Traquair, the Stuarts of Blantyre, and the Stuarts of Ochiltree. Even those dignitaries whose name was not actually Stuart often stood in close relationship to the crown through marriage or descent. Throughout her reign, Mary correctly addressed as cousin the Earls of Arran, Huntly, and Argyll, heads respectively of the families of Hamilton, Gordon, and Campbell. Kinship as a concept was all-important in Scotland of the period. Unfortunately, kinship to the monarchy was universally held to strengthen the position of the family concerned, rather than add to the resources of the monarchy. Compared to the Stuarts, how fortunate then, or how prudent, were their Tudor cousins in England. By the reign of Queen Elizabeth, her Tudor forebears had seen to it long ago.